while it is always best to believe in oneself, a little help from others can be a great blessing.
Zuko sits by a campfire, his head hung low, the weight of his father's expectations crushing him. Across from him, Uncle Iroh pours tea with a calm precision, his every movement deliberate, yet effortless. The firelight flickers on their faces as the silence grows heavy. Finally, Zuko speaks, his voice tinged with frustration and desperation. "I don't know who I am anymore." Iroh looks up, his eyes filled with both compassion and wisdom. He doesn't respond immediately. Instead, he sips his tea, letting the question linger in the night air. Then, with the gentle authority of someone who has walked this path before, Iroh says, "While it is always best to believe in oneself, a little help from others can be a great blessing." This wasn't just advice for Zuko, it was a challenge. Iroh wasn't merely offering comfort, he was inviting Zuko to open himself to a new way of thinking, one that required vulnerability, trust, and a willingness to let go of the burdens he'd carried for so long. For Zuko, this moment marked a turning point in his journey. He had spent so much time trying to live up to the impossible expectations of his father that he had lost sight of who he truly was. Iroh's words weren't just about seeking help. They were about recognizing that strength comes not from perfection, but from connection. As viewers, we see ourselves in Zuko. How often do we feel lost, weighed down by the need to prove ourselves to others? Iroh's wisdom isn't just a lesson for Zuko, it's a reminder for all of us. What if the strength you're searching for doesn't come from working harder or pushing through alone, but from embracing the support of those who believe in you? Stay with us, because what Uncle Iroh reveals next is more than just advice. It's a secret that has the power to transform not only Zuko's life, but yours as well. Zuko's life was defined by one word: honor. From the moment he was banished by his father, Fire Lord Ozai, Zuko's entire existence revolved around regaining his father's approval. The only way to do that? Capture the Avatar, a task that had eluded the Fire Nation for over a century. For Zuko, this was more than a mission. It was a desperate attempt to prove his worth. But beneath the surface, Zuko was battling an internal conflict. On one hand, he was determined to fulfill his father's expectations. On the other, he felt a growing unease about the Fire Nation's actions and his role in them. This inner turmoil only deepened as his pursuit of the Avatar pushed him further into moral and emotional isolation. The weight of these expectations was suffocating. Every failure felt like confirmation that he wasn't good enough, that he didn't deserve his place in the Fire Nation. Zuko's scar, a constant reminder of his father's cruelty, symbolized more than just his banishment. It was the physical manifestation of his feelings of inadequacy and rejection. Uncle Iroh, however, saw something different in Zuko. Where others saw a disgraced prince, Iroh saw a young man with potential. He understood that Zuko's struggle wasn't just about capturing the Avatar. It was about finding his true self. Iroh's approach was unconventional. While Zuko's father demanded obedience and perfection, Iroh offered compassion and patience. He encouraged Zuko to slow down, to reflect, and to consider that his worth wasn't tied to his father's approval. But Zuko, blinded by his need for validation, often dismissed Iroh's advice as weakness. For many of us, Zuko's struggle is painfully relatable. Have you ever felt like the weight of others' expectations was pulling you away from who you truly are? Maybe it's the pressure to succeed in your career, to meet societal standards, or to live up to the image others have of you. It's a heavy burden, and like Zuko, it can leave us feeling lost and unsure of our own identity. Iroh's wisdom offers a way out, a different path rooted in compassion, balance, and self-discovery. But Zuko couldn't see that yet. His journey to embrace Iroh's teachings was only just beginning. What happens next would test Zuko's beliefs and reveal the strength he didn't know he had. Uncle Iroh's teachings weren't about fighting harder or chasing honor more relentlessly. They were about understanding oneself. In one defining moment, Iroh sat with Zuko after a failed attempt to capture the Avatar. Zuko was frustrated, filled with anger and self-loathing, convinced that every failure confirmed his unworthiness. Iroh, ever calm, poured a cup of tea and said, "While it is always best to believe in oneself, a little help from others can be a great blessing." At first, Zuko dismissed the statement. To him, relying on others was a sign of weakness, a belief deeply ingrained by his father's teachings. But Iroh's words planted a seed. They hinted at a different kind of strength, one that didn't rely on power or conquest, but on connection and trust. Later, when Iroh taught Zuko to redirect lightning, a skill that required complete emotional balance, Zuko began to realize the depth of his uncle's wisdom. Iroh explained, "You must let the energy flow through you. Do not let it poison you. Only then can you channel it safely." This wasn't just about bending. It was a metaphor for Zuko's inner conflict. The anger and shame he carried were poisoning him, and until he learned to let them go, he would never find peace. Iroh's guidance wasn't about giving Zuko the answers, but showing him how to find them within himself. His lessons weren't easy, and Zuko often resisted. But as Iroh quietly demonstrated, true strength comes not from dominating others, but from mastering oneself. What Uncle Iroh was teaching Zuko wasn't just about bending or honor. It was about something far more powerful: the strength to let go, to trust, and to find balance. And that lesson was about to change everything. To fully understand Uncle Iroh's wisdom and his impact on Zuko, we must first explore the journeys that brought them together. Iroh wasn't always the serene, tea-loving mentor we know in Avatar: The Last Airbender. Once, he was a fearsome general, renowned as the Dragon of the West. His military victories were legendary, and he was seen as a hero of the Fire Nation. But behind the accolades was a man deeply shaped by loss. Iroh's defining moment came when he led the Fire Nation siege on Ba Sing Se, a city said to be impenetrable. Despite his brilliant strategies and strength, the siege failed, and Iroh suffered a devastating personal loss: the death of his son, Lu Ten. This loss shattered Iroh's spirit and forced him to confront the values that had driven him. The death of his son was a turning point. Iroh abandoned his quest for conquest and began a journey of self-discovery. He sought balance, humility, and inner peace, transforming from a war-hardened general into the wise and compassionate man we see in the series. His experiences gave him a unique perspective on power, responsibility, and the human condition. In contrast, Zuko's journey was just beginning. Banished from the Fire Nation by his father, Fire Lord Ozai, Zuko was sent on an impossible mission to capture the Avatar. This wasn't just a punishment, it was a cruel way of removing Zuko from the throne's line of succession. With his face scarred and his honor stripped, Zuko's only hope of redemption, in his eyes, was to fulfill his father's impossible expectations. Zuko's desperation to prove himself made him angry, impulsive, and deeply insecure. He lashed out at the world and even at Iroh, who traveled with him in exile. Despite Zuko's hostility, Iroh never wavered in his support. He understood Zuko's pain and saw the potential for greatness hidden beneath his anger. Their relationship was complicated, evolving from a traditional mentor-student dynamic into something far deeper, a bond rooted in unconditional love and mutual growth. Iroh didn't push Zuko to follow orders or meet expectations. Instead, he guided Zuko toward discovering his true self. This dynamic became more evident as the series progressed. When Zuko questioned his path, Iroh didn't provide simple answers. Instead, he asked probing questions and offered subtle wisdom. One such moment came when Iroh told Zuko, "Destiny is a funny thing. You can always choose to shape it." Through flashbacks, we see how Iroh's transformation from a conqueror to a mentor parallels Zuko's journey from a vengeful prince to a compassionate leader. Both had to confront their pasts and redefine what honor and strength truly meant. In the end, Iroh's wisdom wasn't about changing Zuko. It was about helping him realize who he had been all along. The lessons Iroh imparted, drawn from his own pain and growth, would lay the foundation for Zuko's ultimate transformation. Uncle Iroh's wisdom can be distilled into 3 core lessons that transformed Zuko's life: balance, humility, and connection. These lessons weren't delivered as commands, but as quiet moments of reflection and practice, allowing Zuko to internalize them in his own time. Together, they created a foundation for Zuko's ultimate transformation and serve as universal truths that anyone can apply to their own life. Iroh often emphasized the importance of balance, both in bending and in life. One of his most memorable quotes is, "Life happens wherever you are, whether you make it or not." For Zuko, balance was the key to overcoming his inner turmoil. He spent so much of his life consumed by anger and shame, trying to prove his worth to his father, that he ignored his own needs and values. Iroh showed Zuko that balance wasn't about suppressing emotions, but about acknowledging and harmonizing them. This lesson was beautifully illustrated when Iroh taught Zuko how to redirect lightning. To master the technique, Zuko had to let the energy flow through him without resistance, a process that mirrored how he needed to let go of his anger and shame to find inner peace. Pride is not the opposite of shame, but its source. True humility is the only antidote to shame, Iroh told Zuko during one of their travels. This lesson struck at the heart of Zuko's struggle. His pride, rooted in his desire to prove himself to his father, was the very thing fueling his shame and self-doubt. Through humility, Iroh taught Zuko to redefine honor, not as something granted by others, but as a reflection of his own integrity and actions. When Zuko finally let go of his obsession with earning his father's approval, he was able to step into his own identity and choose a path aligned with his true values. Iroh's love for tea, music, and quiet moments of joy weren't trivial hobbies. They were deliberate practices of connection. Whether he was brewing tea or playing his tsungi horn, Iroh found meaning in small, seemingly ordinary moments. Sometimes, the best way to solve your own problems is to help someone else, he once said, emphasizing the importance of relationships in building resilience and strength. For Zuko, this lesson was transformative. His journey with Iroh taught him to value the bonds he formed, not as tools for power, but as sources of mutual growth and support. When Zuko reconnected with his sister and mother, and later joined Team Avatar, he embraced this lesson fully, finding strength in his relationships rather than seeking to dominate others. These lessons aren't just for Zuko, they're for all of us. Consider, where in your life do you need balance? How could letting go of pride help you grow? What small joys or connections could strengthen you today? Uncle Iroh's strategy wasn't about teaching Zuko how to fight. It was about showing him how to live. His lessons remind us that true strength comes from harmony within and the courage to embrace the people and moments that matter most. When Zuko finally embraced Uncle Iroh's teachings, his life began to change in ways he never imagined. The boy who once believed his only path to honor was capturing the Avatar became a man who understood that true honor came from choosing his own destiny. Zuko's transformation was most evident in his decision to leave the Fire Nation and join Team Avatar. This wasn't just a rebellion against his father. It was a declaration of independence, a choice to follow his own values rather than the expectations placed upon him. For years, Zuko had believed his purpose was tied to his father's approval. But through Iroh's guidance, he realized his true purpose lay in restoring balance and standing up for what was right. This shift in perspective allowed Zuko to repair fractured relationships. He sought forgiveness from those he had wronged, like Aang and Katara, and earned their trust through his actions. More importantly, he deepened his bond with Iroh, finally recognizing him not just as an uncle, but as the father figure he had always needed. On a larger scale, Zuko's transformation had a profound impact on the world. His decision to overthrow Fire Lord Ozai and end the war brought peace to the four nations. Zuko's reign as Fire Lord wasn't about domination. It was about healing the wounds of the past and creating a future built on balance and understanding. For viewers, Zuko's story is a testament to the power of Uncle Iroh's teachings. By embracing balance, humility, and connection, Zuko overcame his inner conflict and found true freedom. His journey reminds us that when we let go of the need to please others and align with our own values, we unlock our potential to create a meaningful life. Zuko's transformation wasn't just about saving the world, it was about saving himself. What could you achieve if you stopped chasing external validation and started living for what truly matters? Zuko's transformation wasn't easy. The path Uncle Iroh guided him on required confronting deep-seated fears and overcoming powerful internal and external obstacles. One of Zuko's greatest challenges was letting go of his loyalty to his father. For years, he believed that earning Fire Lord Ozai's approval was the only way to restore his honor. This belief had been ingrained in him since childhood, and abandoning it felt like betraying his family and his identity. But as Iroh patiently taught him, loyalty to others should never come at the cost of loyalty to oneself. Zuko had to learn that his worth wasn't tied to his father's approval, and that meant rejecting the toxic expectations that had controlled his life. It was a painful realization, but it allowed Zuko to begin redefining what honor truly meant. Another obstacle was Zuko's struggle with self-doubt. Even after leaving the Fire Nation and joining Team Avatar, he constantly questioned whether he was good enough, whether his redemption was possible. This internal battle often made him hesitant and uncertain, threatening to derail his progress. Iroh's lessons, however, helped Zuko see that failure wasn't the end. It was part of the journey. Through humility, Zuko found the courage to own his mistakes and use them as stepping stones toward growth. For viewers, Zuko's journey shows that change isn't immediate or linear. Overcoming obstacles requires patience, reflection, and the willingness to face uncomfortable truths. Start small. Acknowledge the fears holding you back, and take one step toward confronting them. Surround yourself with people who believe in your potential, just as Iroh believed in Zuko. As Zuko discovered, the hardest battles are the ones within ourselves. But with guidance and courage, they are battles we can win. Uncle Iroh's wisdom transformed Zuko's life, and it can transform yours too. Think about the lessons he shared: balance, humility, and connection. These aren't just abstract ideas. They're practical tools that can help you face your challenges and find your own path. Ask yourself, what part of your past have you been holding on to? What expectations or fears are keeping you from embracing who you truly are? Like Zuko, the first step is acknowledging those burdens and deciding to let them go. You don't have to face these challenges alone. Just as Iroh guided Zuko, there are people in your life who want to help you grow. Take a moment to reflect and share your thoughts in the comments. How has Uncle Iroh's wisdom inspired you? What steps can you take today to bring balance into your life? If this video resonated with you, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories and lessons that inspire transformation. Share this with someone who might need a little guidance on their own journey. Remember, as Uncle Iroh said, sometimes the best way to solve your own problems is to help someone else. Let's all embrace the wisdom of Uncle Iroh and take that first step toward becoming our best selves.